Little did you know it, but Anomaly has just asked one of the oldest questions in Magic. Sit, won't you, and ponder the orb with me as we discuss what's tempo. Tempo, simply put, is the speed of the game. Every turn you get certain resources. Untap, upkeep, draw, play a land, use mana, that kind of thing. The clearest thing to see is the land drops. Every turn you get one. So over time you can use 1 mana, then 2, then 3, then 4. That's basic tempo. Using as much mana as you can every turn keeps tempo. And any play that lets you use more mana or wastes the mana your opponent uses is generally considered a tempo play. I'll show you some generally accepted tempo cards and see if you can guess why they're considered tempo cards. This is tempo, and so is this. This is a tempo champ, but so is this. This is the All-Star, but this is tempo too. Oh ho, you've returned. Let's ponder the orb together and try to discuss what tempo looks like when you play it. Last time we talked about the mana curve. 1, then 2, then 3, etc. Creatures also have a basic curve. 1 mana for 1 power and 1 toughness, 2 for a 2/2, 3 for a 3/3, and so on. That's the basic curve of creature power and toughness. So if I play creatures along my curve, I get a 1/1, then a 2/2, then a 3/3, and so on. And I bet you can guess what it looks like when 2 players do this against each other. I get a 1/1, he gets a 1/1. I get a 2/2, he gets a 2/2. I get a 3/3, he gets a 3/3. But what happens if someone makes a tempo play? I play a 1/1, he plays a 1/1. I play a 2/2, he plays a 2/2. I play a 3/3, he plays a mana war. It's 3 mana, 2 power, 2 toughness, and he bounces my 3/3. Now look at the board. We've both spent the same amount of mana, but he looks like he's on turn 3, and I look like I'm back on turn 2. He's moved ahead in time. Come back for part 3. Oh, hell yes, that's good orb. Oh my god! Sorry, I didn't see you there. I was just, well, pondering my orb. So we talked about mana war, and how you can sort of measure tempo as the amount and efficiency of mana working for you versus the amount and efficiency of mana working against you. But this doesn't really work in EDH. I can mana war one opponent and get an advantage on their mana use, but then next turn all 3 of them can gang up on me. They'd be using the combined power of all of their land drops and all of their draw steps and all of their attack steps on me. It doesn't matter if I'm more mana efficient than one player. We've gone from a situation where the mana curve working for me matches the mana curve working against me, to a world where the amount of mana working against me changes every turn based on whether or not I'm seen as the threat, based on politics. I could go from a quiet turn 2 where no one spends mana against me, to a brutal turn 3 where everyone turns all their mana against me. In EDH, politics overshadows tempo, and how could one player ever outrace 3? Yeah, that's good, but it's a sphere and I'm really an orb kind of guy. Nice to see you back. Let's keep talking about tempo. So tempo is when you move ahead on turns or push your opponent back. So Time Walk is sort of the most basic tempo card there is. You're 1 turn forward. But what about fractions of a turn? Can I get ahead on those? Well, every turn has untap, upkeep, draw, main phase, attack phase, second main, end step. If you can get extra phases or suppress your opponent's phases, that's tempo. You could have an extra draw step, or an extra land drop, an extra attack phase, or you could cancel your opponent's untap step. You could use any of these techniques to push yourself ahead of your opponent by a fraction of a turn. But aren't some of these aggro strategies and some of them are card advantage strategies? What's the deal? They are, but cards are rarely one thing at a time. Words like tempo, aggro, and card advantage aren't so much what the cards are, so much as useful ways to think about them. I mean, I know Zur is kind of aloof, but do you think he'd let me ponder his orb? So last time I asked, what makes tempo fall apart as a strategy? Let's take a look back at the original example, the mana war. On turn 3 I got mana ward, and it set me back by a turn. But what happens on turn 4? If he just chills on turn 4, or he can't use all of his mana, then he loses the tempo that he won last time. I get a chance to catch up. But if he keeps right at it, and on turn 4 he plays another 4/4, then he's held on to the tempo he earned last turn. If he never attacks, if he never presses on me, I get a chance to sort of catch up. He doesn't really use his tempo. But if he presses his advantage with attacks, he forces me to make really disadvantageous blocks where I lose permanence. You win with tempo by pressing the tiny advantages that you gained. With tempo advantage, if you don't use it, you lose it. The second half of tempo is that you have to be applying pressure. Pressure is what makes a card like this a viable card. Yes, this is perfect. Counter Magic is tempo, but I thought it was control. If you want to get nitty-gritty about it, control decks win on card advantage and inevitability, but they use tempo to get there, and their preferred method is Counter Magic. So how is Counter Magic tempo? Well, let's say you just tapped out 5 mana to cast a big beater. Counter magic is really cheap. I only need 2 mana to stop your 5. I can use the other 3 mana to like summon a blocker, or cast a card draw spell or a ramp spell as I dig for my big game-ending win con. I don't win by countering spells, I win by all the stuff I do with the leftover mana after I counter your spells. In EDH, this gets even crazier, because every time I counter your commander, it gets more expensive to cast again. My counter magic stays cheap. Your commander gets more and more and more expensive, and that makes my counter magic more and more efficient. It's weird, but Commander as a format is actually pretty hostile to commanders. Bro, stop screaming, you're gonna hurt the orb. Welcome back. So we talked about how control decks use tempo, but how do aggro decks use it? Well, most of it's pretty simple. You remember our example about the mana curve of creatures? A 1-1 on turn 1, then on turn 2 a 2-2, then on turn 3 a 3-3? Yeah, fuck that shit, that's for nerds. On turn 1, play a 2-2. On turn 2, play a 3-3. On turn 3, play something with 6 power. Who cares, man? Get weird. But aggro has other ways to get ahead on tempo. If I play a 2-2 for 2, I'm on tempo, right? But my 2-2 has to wait an entire turn to untap before he can attack. But a 2-2 for 2 with haste is attacking as if I had played him last turn. It's like that creature is ahead in time. Playing overpowered and haste creatures allows aggro decks to play ahead of the curve. Oh man, I think I had too much orb last night. I think I'm gonna... So now we know how to use tempo aggressively and defensively. What happens if we make a deck out of just mushing those two together? Mike Maniello says, Delver? Delver. This is gonna be a little bit of a deck tech, so strap in. Delver decks are a 60-card archetype. They play undercosted threats, originally Delver of Secrets, this cute little goth boy, who you play for 1, but then you flip him, and he becomes this much cuter goth boy, with 3 power and flying. Along with the Delver is a full clip of direct damage and hard and soft counters. These days it runs on Dragon's Rage Channeler, the literally hottest alt-girl you've ever met. Murktide Breachant, the big dog. And Mr. Steal Your Girl himself, the monkey, the ragman, get out of your... This strategy is so powerful that it accounts for almost 1 in 10 top 8 decks in Modern, and almost 1 in 4 in Legacy.